Okay, welcome to another class on health. Lots of vocabulary again with this theme. So in the exercise under the video, I tell a little story about some of my own health problems. I don't necessarily tell the truth the whole way through the story. I'm just trying to demonstrate how to use this vocabulary, but some of it is true. And when I went on holiday some time ago, it was in Turkey. It was a lovely holiday. Turkey's a lovely country. But sadly, when I went, it was beautiful. I walked up this mountain, had a lovely walk up the mountain, but when I came back and went for a shower, I found a black tick, which is a kind of parasite. Yeah, you might have to look this up. It's like an arachnid, like a type of spider. I had never come across a tick in my life before that moment, and I had to rip it out because this small creature, this small black creature, latched onto my skin and then dug into my skin. Yeah, latch onto means attach. It's like cling onto. Cling onto is actually very similar. Cling onto is certainly what we use when we mean people physically grab onto something. Cling onto or grab onto. Yeah, my mum, when she's in a car, she grabs onto the seat because she's really scared of driving. She's scared of crashing, more scared of crashing in fact than driving, but she's scared of crashing, and so she clings onto the seat, she grabs onto the seat. But this parasite latched onto my skin, and it's like cling onto or grab onto. It means attached itself firmly to my skin and then dug into the skin, and I mean tried to get underneath the skin. I was very surprised when I saw it. I didn't know what it was. I pulled it and it didn't want to let go of me. It was firmly attached to me. It seemed to really like me. And this is because the reason why this parasite does this is because it feeds off the host's blood, my blood. Yeah, it feeds off mammals' blood. Now you can say feeds on mammals' blood or feeds off mammals' blood or even lives on mammals' blood. All of those work, yeah, for if an animal eats that particular food and survives by eating that particular food. And this is what black ticks or ticks in general, this is what they feed on. They feed on mammals' blood. And so I had to tear it out. I had to rip it out. Now, I didn't have tweezers. I don't know if you know tweezers. They're these are the very small, therefore plucking your eyebrows or something like that. If you pluck your eyebrows, I must admit I don't pluck mine, but you might use a pair of tweezers, and you might use a pair of tweezers to rip out the tick. I didn't have any tweezers. Teasers? I didn't have any tweezers, so I ripped it out with my nails, and I managed to, but then it escaped and I lost it. And I remember when I went to the hospital in the UK, the guy asked me, "Do you have it still?" And I said, "No, I'm sorry, I lost the black tick. I didn't bring it back from Turkey." Okay, so these black ticks, they spread diseases. That's the problem. They spread diseases because they carry bacteria from other mammals and they spread these bacteria to humans. And so one disease that they spread is Lyme's disease. It's a contagious, it's not a contagious disease as in you could catch it from somebody by talking to them, but it's vector, yeah, it's carried around by this parasite, this particular disease. So if you get bitten by this parasite, you need to go to the doctor and he will prescribe you some powerful antibiotics to deal with Lyme's disease, to make sure you don't develop Lyme's disease. Yeah, so a contagious disease, this word here means a disease which is easily spread, which is easily passed from one person to another person. So if a disease is contagious, then you have to be careful when you're around somebody with this disease because you might catch this disease. Yeah, so colds and flus are contagious. Yeah, I mean, the idea is that they spread from person to person. Okay, so that's what contagious means. You know, some diseases aren't contagious. Cancer isn't contagious, and so in fact, I'm not sure if it's exactly a disease. I'm not a medical man, but it's certainly not contagious, cancer. Whereas, for example, a lot of sexual diseases are contagious, and that's how they spread. Yeah. So fatigue is tiredness, exhaustion, drowsiness. Yeah, and often we talk about fatigue as a symptom. And so if you're feeling tired, very often you may have fatigue. You also might have achy, stiff or swollen joints. Now joints are where different parts of the body meet, and so you know this is your shoulder joint, your elbow joint, and if your joints are stiff, it's very hard to move them. Yeah, it's painful to move them. It's not easy to move your knee or move your elbow. Then you've got a stiff knee, a stiff elbow. If they're achy, they're painful, and it's that dull pain usually rather than a sharp pain. And if they're swollen, that means they've got bigger. So very often, if you've received some kind of impact or hit, you know, to your shoulder, for example, it might swell up, and that means the blood comes under the skin and it gets bigger. Okay, if you've got a splitting headache, it means a terrible headache. And another terrible headache, you know, maybe one with a really sharp pain right in the middle of your brain, and you might call that a migraine. You might say, I have a migraine, and so a migraine is a splitting headache. Insomnia is when you're not able to sleep. Yeah, we all have those nights when sadly we can't force ourselves to go to sleep. It's one of those interesting processes where it's actually not your choice to go to sleep. When you think about it, you don't ever choose to fall asleep. And that's why we have insomnia sometimes, because it's something that we have no power over. And so insomnia, there are some remedies for insomnia, and remedy is a good word. It's like remedy is like some kind of treatment or some kind of method for dealing with some sickness or illness. And so one remedy for insomnia is counting sheep. Yeah, I don't know if that actually works, if I'm honest. I don't recommend that remedy. I recommend reading. I think reading makes your eyes so tired that even insomnia, you can overcome insomnia by reading something and yeah, making your eyes get tired. Okay, fever is when you have a very, very high temperature. Maybe you're feeling very hot, you're sweating profusely, you're usually vomiting. Vomit is where you are sick, and we have a phrasal verb here which is throw up. Yeah, that's be sick. It's not feel sick, which is just where you have a sick feeling in your stomach. But be sick is where your food actually comes out of your mouth, you know, not having been digested properly. It just gets thrown up. And you understand why we say up, because it comes up from your stomach. That's why. So fever is when you have a very high temperature and all of those terrible symptoms. You know, it can be dangerous, because if it doesn't stop, then yeah, your symptoms might get worse and worse. So come down with we use for flu very often, although you could use it with other illnesses, but it's mild illnesses. You wouldn't say somebody came down with cancer.